In this lecture, we are going over sensitive personal data, also known as special categories of data. This has come up briefly before, but here we're going to dive in a bit more deeply. We will define what sensitive personal data is. We will then look at the definitions for genetic, health, and biometric data. And we will conclude by looking at the importance of processing with regards to the definition of biometric data. In short, sensitive personal data is data that requires special protections, and it requires special protections because its collection and processing creates significant risk to the rights and freedoms of individuals. Data considered sensitive personal data under the GDPR includes race, ethnicity, political opinions, religious or philosophical beliefs, trade union membership, genetic data, biometric data, health data, and sexuality. Note that we saw sensitive personal data in earlier iterations of EU data protection laws. New to the GDPR are genetic data and biometric data. Remember that. Genetic data is defined as data that is related to inherited or acquired genetic characteristics, and this data gives unique information about an individual's physiology and health. Health data, this is broadly interpreted. This is data that relates to the physical or mental health of a person. It includes health history, healthcare services received, past, present, and future physical or mental health status, data collected during registration for healthcare, a number, symbol, or other identifier, and data derived from testing. Finally is biometric data. This is personal data resulting from special technical processing. Now, this is really important because the special technical processing, this goes part and parcel with biometric data. And so, for example, it's not just raw images and recordings, but the data that is extracted and analyzed from that image or recording using technology. And so a photograph, for example, a photograph on its own is not biometric data. If you take a picture of your face, that alone is not biometric data. However, if you process that photograph to extract an individual's facial geometry in order to be able to identify uniquely that person as part of a facial recognition system, then that photograph becomes biometric data. You can say the same thing about your fingerprint, an iris or retina scan, a voice print, behavioral biometrics, etc. Biometric data is typically related to physical, physiological, and behavioral characteristics. Again, processing is central to the definition of biometric data under the GDPR. So to use a similar example, imagine I have security footage from a CCTV camera of a data subject using a white cane. That security footage on its own is not immediately a special category of data. However, if my intention is to take this footage to feed it into an AI or a machine learning model in order to infer special categories of data, such as perhaps disability, then this is going to be a special category of data or sensitive personal data. And under the GDPR, specifically Article 9, there are special protections or requirements in order for this data to be processed. We will talk much more about Article 9 later on. In this lecture, we went over sensitive personal data or special categories of data. This includes race, ethnicity, political opinions, religious or philosophical beliefs, trade union membership, genetic data, biometric data, health data, and sexuality. Pop quiz, which of these are new to the GDPR? I'm sorry, say that one more time. Did you say genetic and biometric data? You are correct. Awesome. Genetic data relates to inherited or acquired genetic characteristics. It gives unique information about an individual's physiology and health. Health data is broadly interpreted. It is related to the physical or mental health of a person. Biometric data, this is personal data resulting from specific technical processing. Again, it's not just the raw images, but the recording and data that's extracted from those images and recordings. This is related to physical, physiological, and behavioral characteristics. And remember the importance of processing. Security footage on its own is not immediately a special category of data or sensitive personal data. However, if the objective is to process that technically in order to derive some information, then it is sensitive personal data, and Article 9 would apply.